I sat down to write, I was in a different space. And so I know that religion, good religion, comes in different ways. And so whatever you think of this book, whatever you think of these characters, it is a literary piece. And when you're doing literary work, you have to be in that space, not in your space. You have to be in the space that God puts you in. He didn't ask me to be C.S. Lewis, and I don't know why he didn't give me The Shack, that book by William Young. I would have thanked him for that. That would be a long way now. He gave me this, The Baroness, and it is different. And it's a novel that raises lots of issues. It makes some people quite uncomfortable. I have read reviews about it, but uncomfortable in a way where there are issues that it raises that, you just need to be able to, you don't have to think about it as yours because you can read it, in a novel. But it's fiction, but it does deal with very real issues. And I'd like to just read a short excerpt from The Baroness for you, if you would like that. Or I could stop at this point and take questions, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask about the novel or the process for writing the novel. Quiet room is not a good room. And
all right, where are you going down? You're already working on your next novel, I think, right?
Yes, in a sense I am. I think what happens is, as I mentioned, I have written sort of 3 other novels. One is a bit sort of shady, but they are not at publication stage. I took a novel that was called The Church People. Do not worry, Spring Creek. I took a novel that's called The Church People, and I have renamed that novel The Blindsided Prophet. And so that is my next novel. I've been working on The Blindsided Prophet, but what happens is when the process gets interrupted, because this is fantastic. I'm happy to be promoting this novel because I do need to get it walking and running, but it takes away from writing.
What is the process? Did you write the novel first, then go the process, then the editors, and then publish it? What is the process?
The process is, it's different for different people, but for me, I start off with an idea. As I said, I was thinking myself about, I was about 38, 39 years old when I started thinking about The Baroness, and I was thinking about my own life and whether I was going to have children or not. And about 4, 5 years after that, Aunt Fanny died. And it just threw up everything, for me. So I got the idea. And I didn't just want to write a straight novel about that subject alone. I wanted to give it a structure. I wanted to give it a plot. And I plot. I hear a lot of novelists say that they don't. I do. I need to kind of know what road I'm on. I might not always know where I'm going to end up, but I have to know what road I'm on. So I do a bit of plotting, and then after that, I start writing. But if I'm honest with myself and with you, I write a lot while I'm plotting. I'm starting to form things, but it's things that will change, a lot later. And then there's the first draft, the second draft, the third draft, the fourth draft, the fifth draft. I bet you I've written 15 to 20 drafts of The Baroness. And only then is it good enough to go into the editorial process. And then you have to write another draft. And perhaps another one. And finally, after the editorial process, the same time as going through the design process. And I do want to say that the company is called Primus Publications, and that is named after my father and his brothers and his sisters, because my grandmother named all of her children after my grandfather, their middle name. My father's Malachi Primus. They all have Primus as their middle name. And so I had this, it just goes through that process. Somebody come.
Not to change the subject, but you didn't mention my brother-in-law, Paul.
Kermit, you are fantastic. What happened was my computer got all messed up and I got nervous. So half of the people I was supposed to mention didn't get mentioned. Thank you so much, Kermit. I do want to mention my husband, Paul Harbard. Were it not for Paul, we would not have this novel. Because it's a very, very expensive endeavor. I remember Brooke Shields saying one time when she got out of, she left Hollywood to go to Princeton University, and they didn't like that. They really wanted her to stay. And she said, no, I'm going to get an education. And when she came back, they said, no, you're not welcome to the party. And so Brooke said, I'm going to throw my own party. And she threw her own party. And that's kind of what I did. I decided that I'm going to throw my own party. I'm not going to let the world, the publishing industry decide what I'm going to do, because I'm hearing that this is to be. And Paul has been very supportive in all aspects. He's not here today because he's in England. But I'm meeting him in Toronto in a couple of days to actually celebrate his birthday. He couldn't be here. But I dedicated this novel to Aunt Fanny and to Paul. Thank you, Kermit. Any more questions?
Will you read some of the book?
Absolutely. Can they hear me out there? Because there are a few people out there. Okay, the way the Baroness is done, I think a few people have actually, I know at least there have been readers, advanced readers, and I know at least a couple of people have finished this version of the novel. And the way that it's set up and structured, I have 4 viewpoint characters. Lil Lee is the heroine of the novel. She's the main character. And her adversary is called Will Owens. And then there is sort of her support person. Her name is Rena May. And then we also, I forgot Danny Hatcher. How could I forget Danny Hatcher? Her love interest is Danny Hatcher. Everybody has to have that. So I've got those 4 characters, and then there's a surprise from her Aunt Mamie from the grave. She comes into the book, in the book, but I won't give away much more. But I'm going to read you pretty early on in the book, so I won't spoil anything for anybody. Lil's last visit with her Aunt Mamie. Lil could not get thoughts of Aunt Mamie out of her head. When she last saw her, Mamie had really made her point about the importance of Lil having a child. Not having children takes something from you, makes you hard. Was Aunt Mamie prophetic? Lil did feel rather bitter these days. She snapped at just about everyone who crossed her path, and her soul pined for something. It must be children, for she had experienced everything else. The emptiness came in the mornings, making it difficult to get out of bed. She stared at children in supermarkets and malls and wondered what it would be like to push a stroller, hold a tiny hand. There are no guarantees with children anyhow. Lil sat with legs akimbo on a king-size pillow on the floor and leaned against her aunt's legs that had become feeble over the years. Aunt Mamie combed through her hair, not releasing it from the ponytail holder, not pulling it so hard like she used to. She had been doing Lil's hair since the day Paris snipped it, causing one of the worst panic moments of Lil's childhood. She'd never forget how upset she was after seeing her plait on the pillow, and how satisfied she felt when Aunt Mamie beat Paris with a rubber sandal and forbid her to ever touch Lil's hair again. In Ohio, she would wish for that kind of protection, the feeling of her aunt's fingers in her hair, as if they were sheltering her. Kate, her stepmother, was nice and caring, but she had not been as protective as perhaps she could have been. Though she combed Lil's hair, washed her clothes, did all that stuff, She just didn't see the small details in life like Aunt Mammy did, except when it came to her own daughter, Nikki, Lil's half-sister. More guarantees with them than there is without them, her aunt finally said. Maybe, Lil said, thinking of how Kate had tried and tried until she had Nikki. Her stepmother was 42 when she got pregnant. It's not urgent. Lots of women are having babies later in life. Look at Kate. The old woman twisted Lil's head around. You ain't lots of women, her aunt said. You must have forgot about your fibroids. She paused, but Lil didn't see a need to respond. You think you got time? But all I'm saying is time will trick you. It ain't never had a problem when manipulating circumstances. Lil rubbed her arms and tilted her head to the ceiling. She felt her aunt's hands fall away from her hair. I'm living proof of that. No need of you being as well. I just don't want you to end up like me. Like what? Lil asked. End up like what? She kept staring into blankness. Her aunt hadn't had children or built an empire, so what? She had created a legacy for Lil and her sisters and their children. What was she talking about? At least she had valued the land her parents left. The others, including Lil's father, had sold out. Hard to believe, for the buildings not only carried the Lee family history in its air and soil, but also held memories of her mother. Stop pretending you don't understand, her aunt said. Now come here. Lil pulled herself up on her knees and faced her. Aunt Mammy had once had the thickest hair she had ever seen, but now it was thin and mangy. Age, illness, and weight loss had broken her. None of it could be helped. Lil guessed except the latter. Aunt Mammy brought it on herself, refusing to eat much, if anything. The doctors had threatened to force feed her. Her face sagged. Her eyes hinted of mist. She squeezed them closed and then opened them again, staying silent. Only one other time had Lil seen her look so raw. Her aunt just didn't believe in exposing her feelings. She certainly did not cry much. Tears were precious for things that mattered, she once said. She told Lil she had cried herself silly when her son was stillborn, one of the few things that had mattered in her life. But that was about all she would say about her son, as if the subject was taboo. Her unheated gaze caused Lil to avert her eyes. With sweaty hands, the old woman touched her chin and moved her face back in her direction. I see you do understand, she said. It gets worse. It's like giving up your womanhood. Lil tried to wriggle away, but Mamie held her fast. Now you listen to me, girlfriend. You gotta slow down. Fast cars, meetings, all them things can wait. Your womanhood won't wait. It will just slip away if you don't use it. You go out there and do what you got to do. Lil gave in, climbed up on the bed, and pressed her head against her aunt's flabby shoulder. Despite the older woman's dislike of physical affection, she cradled Lil now. They sat in silence for a long time, Lil thinking about how time had flown, how it didn't seem that long ago that she was a teenager. At 17, she had met Jerome, fallen in love with him, and lost her virginity. That was more than 20 years ago. Stop at that. Enjoy yourselves, and if you've got a book and I haven't signed it, I'm very happy to sign it. Thank you.